Let's talk about your environmental plan, which you say is based more on science than fear.
Yeah.
What's in it?
So my element of our broader GOP plan is the New Energy Frontier. And I'm focusing on carbon capture. So I'm focusing on existing technology that we should be investing in. It's really that simple. And specifically, I have a bill called the Leading Act, which I've rolled into the New Energy Frontier. And that sets aside existing funds at the Department of Energy to invest in pilot programs, research and development for carbon capture as it relates to natural gas plants. Again, this isn't science fiction. Just outside of Houston, we have a plant that powers 5,000 homes, takes in natural gas, and recirculates that CO2 through the plant, zero emissions. So the goal is to scale this out. The goal is to this is the key difference between how Republicans are looking at this versus how Democrats look at this.
Explain the science to me too.
Well,
as best you can.
The science of carbon capture?
Yeah.
Well. You might need somebody else to explain the exact science of it. In this case, they're actually just recirculating the CO2 through the power plant itself. There's other science out there called direct air capture, where you just have machines out there that just capture CO2 from the air. Now, that's not very cost effective right now at all. Right now, you want to be capturing carbon, from the source, from an energy source, from a manufacturing plant, something like that. And more importantly, we have to look at ways. Okay, once you've captured it, what are you going to do with it? Okay, and that's another interesting part. So the second part of the New Energy Frontier is a carbon innovation hub at DOE. Let's actually do the fundamental science to figure out what uses are out there for CO2. Again, and this isn't pie in the sky thinking. There's already a lot of uses. There's another plant outside of Houston, a coal plant that captures carbon and then ships that to the oil industry so they can use that for enhanced oil recovery. When you use CO2 for enhanced oil recovery, you actually reduce emissions by like 40%. Okay, so there's already uses. We ship it to greenhouses. We ship it to algae farms. We use it in cement mixing. We use it in a lot of different chemical processes. So there's already a market for CO2. We need to start looking at it like a commodity and not a waste product. We need to build the infrastructure to ship it around and use it. And there's more uses too. There's some really interesting research out there that would use biological processes to create the chemical process of basically stripping the O2 out of the CO2, creating carbon out of it. What can you do with carbon? Basically everything. Like you can create energy. And they would use bacteria and algae processes to process this. I mean, there's really interesting stuff that's on the horizon.